Hello, my name is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Slidell, Louisiana. And this is your weekly weather briefing for Sunday, July 11th. Starting off with a situation overview, the wet, stormy, and muggy weather pattern that we've seen the past several days, if not weeks, unfortunately is going to persist into the upcoming week ahead. The main threats will remain to be torrential rainfall that could lead to flash flooding concerns, but we may have to monitor some strong storms that may produce some gusty winds and dangerous lightning as well. And then we're going to look at the tropics. The good news is the tropics are quiet, and we're going to look at the forecast for the next 2 to 5 days ahead here in just one quick moment. First, let's take a step back and look at the previous 24-hour rainfall totals that we saw during the day on Sunday. This is valid 9 p.m. Saturday through 9 p.m. on Sunday. As you can see, rainfall totals varied area-wide today. The hardest hit areas were around from West Feliciana Parish, east around Hammond to Pearl River. And then the other hard-hit area was around the South Shore, which included just around the greater New Orleans area, including St. Charles and St. John Parish. You see some locally higher amounts getting around 2 to almost 3 inches of rainfall in some locations. And unfortunately, this did lead to some localized flooding concerns. Now taking a step back even further, looking at the previous 7-day rainfall totals. I know this graph's a little bit hard to see, but you can see that there's one distinct bullseye that really stands out, and that's across Harrison County. And in the past 7 days, areas just north of Gulfport, including Lyman, got hit to around 10 to 15 inches of rainfall in the past 7 days. That's extremely a large amount of rainfall. But generally speaking, across the entire area, it varied between 1 to maybe 2 to 3 inches. Some areas even a little locally higher than that, getting around 4 to 5 inches. But safe to say, very easily to say in a graph like this, it's been very wet the past 7 days. So now let's look 7 days ahead at the rest of the week coming up and even into next weekend. Starting off with early tonight and going into late tonight going into early Monday morning, we may be seeing a redevelopment of showers and storms to our northwest, which may pull into our area early, similar to what we saw during the day on Sunday. Because of that, we have a slight risk of excessive rainfall in effect for Monday. That's Monday morning going through the rest of the day on Monday. We may have to monitor for some gusty winds with some stronger storms as well. And also, I wanted to really mention on this graph here, I wanted to highlight the fact that lightning is a threat for the next several days and is actually a moderate threat, enhanced to moderate threat for the next several days. With these storms that we've seen previously, we've seen a lot of dangerous lightning in them just because there's so much built up instability and energy for these storms to work off of because it's just so hot and muggy outside lately. So dangerous lightning will remain to be a threat today on Monday and continue all the way Tuesday through the rest of the week. If there's any little bit of good news is that it looks like some of the rain chances will come down a little bit towards next week, the upcoming weekend ahead. However, Tuesday through Friday, we'll still see a little bit of an enhanced cover of showers and storms with locally heavy rainfall that could result in some localized flooding concerns. Severe weather will not be a substantial threat, but gusty winds will remain possible all the way through Friday. And again, watching for that dangerous lightning threat. And speaking of that, the reason I highlighted this is because lightning is deadly. Lightning is one of the top 3 storm-related killers in the United States. So as we always say, when thunder roars, go indoors. Don't risk it. If you hear storms approaching, just go indoors. The good news about these storms is they typically pass relatively quickly. Once thunder and lightning gets out of the area, you can go back to doing your regular activities, but just be aware that due to the enhanced amount of coverage of showers and storms, that may be happening a lot. We may have several waves of showers and storms for the next several days where lightning will be a real threat. So keep that in mind when you especially if you have any outdoor activities planned. So talking about earlier about the excessive rainfall outlook, this is for the day today on Monday through Monday night. That's a marginal risk across the area, but we're kind of looking at the bullseye is going to be pretty much north of the I-10-12 corridor, which really hits the southwest Mississippi counties, including Macomb, Mississippi, really hard there. So we're going to have to monitor for another round of very heavy rainfall and localized flash flooding today. And again, be aware that this threat does persist Tuesday into the upcoming week ahead, where we may be seeing some isolated flash flooding concerns. So I wanted to show you this really quick, not to show you any particular slide one at a time, but I want to kind of show you Monday through Sunday the rain chances through the upcoming weekend. Basically, the whole story here is it's going to remain elevated Tuesday, Wednesday, and even on Thursday. The timing for the better coverage of storms will be in the afternoon and in evening hours. But as you see, as we get towards Saturday and even on towards Sunday, we get back towards that 60 to 50% chance, which is a little bit more typical to what we see for a normal summertime pattern. So hopefully we'll kind of see a little bit of a reduce in the isolated flooding threats. And maybe some less of a threat of lightning, but however, it's still summertime. We can still get those threats going in through the weekend. Just unfortunately, have that umbrella handy. It's going to be a wet one all the way through the rest of the week and even into parts of the upcoming weekend. Now, as promised before, we're going to talk about the tropics. Here's the 5-day outlook from the National Hurricane Center. This is a nice graph to see. No new tropical cyclones are expected during the next 5 days across any part of the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, or the Atlantic Basin. And the reason for that is looking at the GOES 16 color imagery. This is a kind of a realistic satellite imagery of the Atlantic Basin. You'll notice that there's you see some little bit of that tan coloring coming off of Africa, going into parts of the Lesser Antilles, getting close into the Caribbean. We have a lot of dry air across the entire basin. Even some wind shear as well, and for tropical systems, wind shear and dry air is just not that good for development. So the good news there is we're not expecting any type of significant development for the next 3 to 5 days, and even beyond that, going to the next week or two, we're kind of looking at this kind of a kind of quieter activity. However, latest observations with what's called the Madden-Julian Oscillation, which is a kind of a cycle of thunderstorm activity, rotates around the equator of the Earth every 30 to 60 days, is that it may kind of align back up towards our area, which will introduce another favorable period of tropical development towards later parts of the month into early August, which climatologically is very favorable for getting closer to favorable this time of the year. So we may have to kind of watch for an uptick in tropical development here in the next few weeks, getting towards late July into early August. And speaking about that with the hurricane season timeline, you see that we have only completed a very small portion of the hurricane season. We've got a lot to go. And a reminder also, the 2021 hurricane outlook remains to be 13 to 20 named storms, around 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes. So the main key takeaway here is we have a lot of hurricane season remaining, and where we're expecting to see a little bit more of an uptick in tropical activity later in the month into August is typically, climatologically speaking, when we see that uptick as well. So please always have your preparations and be aware that we are approaching the peak of hurricane season in the next month or two, and we've got a lot more of the season to go. So summary of the impacts that we talked about for the weather expected for the next 7 days. Unfortunately, that wet, stormy, and muggy weather pattern will persist into the upcoming week. The main threats will continue to be torrential rainfall that will lead to some flash flooding concerns, as well as some gusty winds and dangerous lightning, especially in any individual stronger storms. And the good news there, the tropics are quiet, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a while. That ends this weekly weather update. We hope you have a great week and stay dry.